Several years ago, the renowned rabbi and psychiatrist, Rabbi Dr. Twersky in America, wrote a book that in its time was very unpopular, or it made him very unpopular. And this book was called The Shame Born in Silence. And the subject of the book was domestic abuse. Domestic abuse had gone under the radar until Rabbi Twersky had written this book. People didn't speak about it. Shush, shush, it was kept quiet. These type of things are not done in Jewish homes, and certainly not religious homes. But yet Rabbi Twersky, with his many, many years of experience in the different fields of abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and of course spousal abuse, came to the conclusion that these things were happening. And often people were justifying their behavior based on passages in the Torah. And the purpose of the book was to break this, to say that this is not true. There is absolutely nothing correct or right about spousal abuse, domestic abuse, and it has to be stopped in its tracks. It's an incredible book, and now it's become mainstream. But in its time, it was really trailblazing. And one of the things he discusses in this book is in fact related to our parasha. Our parasha speaks about the sabbatical year. A person is selling a field, or perhaps the Jubilee year. They're selling some property that they own, and they want to sell it at a fair price. Well, the Torah says, Lo tonu ish et amito. You're not allowed to take advantage of another person. You're not allowed to overcharge them. The field is worth so much. This is a fair price. And if you sell it for more, you are overcharging the person. Lo tonu means you are abusing them. You are abusing them financially. And of course, that is prohibited. But then the Torah repeats the prohibition. Lo tonu ish et achiv. One man may not take advantage or abuse his fellow. Why does it repeat that? It already said it. So here the Talmud in Tractate Bava Metzia says that it's coming to speak this time about verbal abuse. Of course, you're not allowed to abuse a person monetarily, financially, but you're also not allowed to abuse them with words. You're not allowed to hurt them with words or put them down or destroy their self-confidence. And it gives a number of examples. Let's say a person is a Baal Tshuva. They're a penitent. They grew up in a completely assimilated home, lifestyle. They didn't keep kosher, they didn't keep Shabbat. And through a whole series of events, they have become religious. They keep Shabbat scrupulously, they keep Kashrut scrupulously, they learn Torah, they're living a very religious life. You are not allowed to go up to that person and say, hey, Mickey, I remember on Shabbat mornings in the old days, you used to go to the Wimpy and eat a cheeseburger. Well, it may be true, but that's an example of abuse. You're hurting them. You're reminding them of a past life that they don't want to be reminded about. Or another example that it gives is a Ben Ger, somebody who has converted into Judaism. They've come tachat kanfei hashchina, under the wings of God's protection. They're now living a religious Jewish life. You're not allowed to go up to them and say, oh, see here, here you are. First thing on Shabbat, you're in shul. I remember in the old days, Sunday morning, you used to go to church and pray to the Christian Savior. You're not allowed to say that. That is a hurtful thing. That is abusive. That's abusing and hurting somebody with words. Moreover, says the Talmud, you're not allowed to give a person advice that is in your best interests, but not in their best interests. Somebody comes to you, they don't know anything about insurance. You're an insurance broker. They want to know what is the best policy to buy. You are not allowed to take advantage of your situation and of your knowledge and professionalism and advise them something that is not in their best interest. That is also abusing a person with words and withholding information from them. But then the Talmud tells us as follows, that the law of abusing, or in particular not abusing other people, is particularly strong when it comes to spousal abuse. And it says as follows, that a man should always be extra careful with how he speaks to his wife. Mitoch shedimata krova, because women are generally more sensitive and more prone to crying. You have to be extra careful in how you speak to her. Always to say please, always to say thank you, always to be kind and caring and nurturing. And says Rabbi Twersky, if this is a law of the Torah, if the Torah even prohibits you from abusing a person with words, not saying something that's insensitive, then certainly you cannot raise a hand against them. And he brings from the Code of Jewish Law, where the Code of Jewish Law says that if a man strikes his wife, the Beth Din is allowed to place a cherem on him, is allowed to excommunicate him and tell him that he is absolutely not allowed to do this, and if he should do it, then she's entitled to a divorce and to receive a full monetary payment. There is nothing in the Torah that allows a person to do such a thing. On the contrary, The Torah says a person must honor himself to a great extent. You have to have self-respect and honor and dignity, but you have to honor the people in your household, your wife and your children, even more than yourself. And it gives examples of this, that a man is obligated to buy new clothing and jewelry for his wife if he's able to afford so. That is the total opposite of abuse. So no one should tell you, says Rabbi Twersky, that Judaism condones such a thing. On the contrary, we condemn it. And it shouldn't be kept hush-hush. And if you know in your community that somebody is being abused, whether it's a husband or whether it's a wife, you should bring this to the attention. Don't stand by idly. Don't do nothing about it. Assist that person, because there's nothing worse. There's nothing that can break a person more than abuse. And even if it's not physical abuse, that emotional and that verbal abuse can break a person. And the Torah tells us, Lo tonu ish et achiv. One man may not abuse or hurt his fellow man. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.